You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we are talking to Mackenzie, co-founder of Brave Animal Rescue in Lincoln, Nebraska. Welcome, Mackenzie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So tell us, what does Brave Animal Rescue do? How did it evolve?
Yeah, so Brave Animal Rescue is a local rescue out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We are all volunteer-based, so we don't have a physical brick-and-mortar building. And we started in 2020, so we like to think that we're the best thing that came out of the pandemic.
And so how did you decide to start it?
Yeah, so myself and two others who are the other co-founders of Brave, we've been doing rescue for about 10 years together, different places, and we kind of decided that we were at a spot where we figured we kind of knew how to run things a little bit from the financial side and obviously from the rescue side. And so we wanted to create something of our own to have a little bit more autonomy. And it kind of just started as a joke, and then it turned into a full-blown rescue in the matter of like 5 months.
And so who are your other partners?
Yeah, so Hannah and Jenna. Hannah and I do the day-to-day stuff, and then Jenna is our board, our president of the board, and she kind of helps with some of the legal background side of things.
And so where do your adoptable pets come from?
Yeah, so we pull from a lot of different areas. And so Brave kind of has some different pillars of what we look for and how we operate. We pull a lot from different shelters from across the United States, actually. And so our big ones are going to be Amarillo, Texas, Southeast Missouri, and Southeast Kansas. And those are going to be the big things that are outside of Nebraska. But we do also focus on a lot of the areas that are inside of Nebraska. So whether that is sometimes rural shelters or even just those in our backyard. Lincoln has a pretty big population of cat and kittens. And so we try to help out those in our back door as much as possible. And then the last thing that we kind of pull from is sometimes owner surrenders. So maybe people who are unfortunately not able to continue care for their own animals for a variety of different reasons.
And so how many volunteers do you have in the Lincoln and surrounding area?
Yeah, so for our foster base, it's all people who just volunteer their time to foster out of their own homes. We probably have at any given time about 20 to 30 different fosters, sometimes more in the summer when it's a little maybe less chaotic for some people's schedules, and sometimes more in the winters when they want to do more traveling in the summer. So I would say at any given time, about 20 to 30.
And so just how did you find the volunteers for the foster?
Yeah, a lot of times it is going to be social media where we put out requests of, hey, it's going to be kitten season here this summer. Is anyone looking to foster? And so sometimes we get just random people that are excited to learn about the process, or maybe they're even looking to adopt themselves, but they don't know if they want the full commitment of adopting quite yet. And so fostering is a great way to get their feet wet. And then just us three being in the rescue world for quite a few years, we kind of gained a following for how we ran our rescue. which I mean is mostly that we care about our fosters, our human fosters, just as much as we care about our animal fosters. And so we kind of respect a lot of boundaries, and whether that's, talking to fosters and they saying, hey, it's a busy time right now, or hey, we're going out on vacation, so we're not able to take an animal at this time. We respect those wishes for all of our fosters. And so we kind of fit the mold with, we work with you just as much as they work with us.
And so based on how your rescue model is, do you need other volunteers if people aren't able to foster dogs?
Oh, absolutely. And so we like to use the phrase, if you can't foster, adopt. If you can't adopt, donate. If you can't donate, hey, share some stuff on social media to try to get a bigger following from there, or to gain exposure for some of our dogs and cats. But we do also have some other things that we're looking at. And so if there's any grant writers out there, we would love to pick your brain, or even have you volunteer with us, as that's a huge need right now. Trying to do all the things while working a full-time job. Grant writing is really not in Hannah and I's expertise. And so we are definitely looking for someone with that ability to share their talents that way. And then the other one is maybe an accountant, to try to help us a little bit more from the financial side of things.
And so when you have a animal rescue that there is no brick and mortar, how do you communicate with all of your fosters?
Yes, it can be challenging at sometimes, but for the most part, we run a lot off of social media and texting. And so we have messenger chats with all of our own fosters. And then we do a lot over email, whether that's working with people who are looking to adopt or foster, calling different vet references for the application process, and working closely with our veterinary staff at a couple different locations to try to get our animals in to be seen whenever they're due for vaccines or surgeries or just health checkups. So it is sometimes a confusing game, but really it's Hannah and I just kind of doing it whenever we have time and making space for it, but mostly just texting back and forth with our fosters to communicate on what's going on.
And so when you're getting the dogs from the different shelters, are the shelters contacting you saying, hey, these dogs are on death row and we need to get them out, or they're, are anxiety driven being in a kennel? Like how did that relationship begin with the places that you do get dogs from?
Absolutely. So it's a huge networking system, and it's crazy. Before I got into rescue, I had no idea that there was so much that went on in the background. And so we are on basically a messenger through Facebook Messenger, and every day from Amarillo, there is 20 to 50 different text messages of, hey, these are the animals that are most dire. Maybe, yes, they do have some kennel anxiety, which heck, I wouldn't blame them being in a kennel with how many other animals. It's, that's nerve-wracking. And then sometimes, shelters unfortunately have to euthanize based off of space, and that's not something they want to do. And so our pals down at all of these different places are doing the best to get to know the animals in front of them and share their story for as much as they have and their personality, to market them to hundreds of different rescues that would maybe be able to save one or two of them. And so they do their best down there to communicate what we would be getting. As you can imagine, being all volunteers and in home for our rescue, we have families too. And so, if I have two cats or someone else has a dog and small kids that, that potential animal, dog or cat, would be coming into, we want to make sure that we can try to match them the best of our abilities. So if we know that a dog gets along with other dogs and cats, that's just a bonus to bring them up, and because that helps for an easy transition. We've also sometimes had it where, they're so anxiety driven that maybe when they get here, they take a couple weeks to kind of settle in. And so just being a sounding board for our fosters to give them that time and patience to kind of work through some of those more difficult times. But it really is a huge process of trying to effectively communicate with our rescue partners, our fosters, and our veterinary staff to make sure that everything is being communicated clearly.
How are the dogs transported from all the rescues to you?
Yeah, so there's even volunteers for people who do transports. And so there are some people who, if they're not able to foster, adopt, or donate or things like that, they can use their time to help out. So sometimes there's a long Saturday of people taking 2 to 3 hour shifts of driving all the way up from Amarillo, Texas, or Southeast Kansas, or Southeast Missouri. And they just take a small amount of chunk out of their time. They drive the animals from basically one town to maybe about an hour and a half in one direction, and then they go back home. And so it's just kind of like a relay race, but with animals.
Yeah, so I volunteered for lab rescue in Wisconsin and Illinois, and they had the transport group that would, go and pick up the animals. Also, I've done pug rescue in Denver, and they have the same, like, oh, we need to go pick up this pug. Can someone, go to Castle Rock and get it to Golden, Colorado? So,
Yeah.
But it just seems the kennels, like it's just so far away. It's not in state. So I just was wondering how that all works. So it's all based on volunteers.
Absolutely. Yep. And there is like a group out there kind of in the Midwest where one lady kind of, helps out all the rescues kind of do this. And so that's kind of her volunteer job, is to connect different people who know how to transport and have done it before, and then gets us connected with the right places based off of where the animals are coming from.
And then for people that are interested in being a foster, do you come to their house and do a home visit and just make sure that, they're ready to go and they're prepared for taking in another dog?
That's a great question. So some rescues do have home checks. With Brave, we do not. We do an application process, and then, if they have other animals, we make sure that they are up to date on everything so that we're not causing a risk to their animals or our animals, bringing them together. And then we do like a Zoom session where we talk about what Brave is and how we run so that it's communicated effectively to the people looking to foster. And then we go from there. We set them up with all the supplies. And so if they want to meet ahead of time, I am more than happy to go to their homes and, kind of help get things set up if needed. Otherwise, they pick up supplies and we just go from there and we kind of roll with the punches.
And so the dogs that are in foster, if people are interested, do you have a website, or do you just do it by social media of the dogs that are available?
We do have a website. Although social media is so great, we do have a landing page for those that maybe want to use that or see all the different ways that they can either get involved or adopt or just learn more about Brave Animal Rescue. And so our website is www.brave-animal-rescue.org.
And so based on all the things going on, do you have any fundraisers coming up?
We do have quite a few. With summer being our most biggest month or months worth of intake of animals, we have to find a way to raise money to be able to give them all that, the medical care that they're going to need. And so we do have a couple different fundraisers coming up. One is May 19th, where we are collaborating with Nebraska AFSP, which is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And we're also partnering with Off Leash on that, where we're able to help kind of raise awareness for mental health and suicide within the veterinary and animal welfare communities. And so we're partnering with them for that. And then we do also have our biggest fundraiser of the year, which is May 30th, and it's Give to Lincoln Day. And it's a great way for people all over the United States, if they wanted, whoever follows us, to even donate just a couple dollars to help with matching funds so that we can have our biggest success yet.
And how do listeners get a hold of you?
Our website is the best place to reach out to us. We have a contact form, which does also lead us back to email. with Hannah and I working full-time jobs, we don't have a office phone number, unfortunately. So email is going to be sometimes the quickest and the fastest way to get to us. And so either emailing braveanimalrescue@gmail.com or going on our website to our contact tab would be the best way to reach out.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast, and we look forward to having you back.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.